All right, welcome to Unity Politics. I'm Dave. Thanks for watching. It's my hands are in the air. That's what I do. I'm Italian. Jo Jorgensen. She is actually trending on Twitter. Don't blink because it's not going to last for very long. Libertarians campaign to get Jo Jorgensen on the debate stage for the U.S. presidential elections. Only libertarians, nobody else, because everything outside the two-party nightmare, the two-party duopoly, the two-party failed state, everything outside of that, because, you know, we're all a bunch of fringe people because we want liberty, we want freedom, we don't want mandates, we don't want lockdowns, we don't want vaccines. We don't want genetically altering vaccines, and we don't want people driving around in armored vehicles in our neighborhood. Throwing it in there, okay? Look, I certainly took some kind of red pill. Probably I took the gold pill. That's what it was. My friend Reed would love that. I just took the gold pill. Never mind the red pill. Please don't take the blue pill. I can understand the red pill. I can't understand the blue pill, and if you're really smart, you'll take the gold pill. All right, and should we have third-party candidates? Maybe invite Howie Hawkins? I don't know. Because, you know, again, you got to be on the ballot in most states to be a serious candidate, and I think they're on the ballot in like 25 states. I mean, it's not enough. You know, they could, essentially, they could beat, no, they're not going to beat Democrats. They're all, look, the Green Party is controlled opposition. The Libertarian Party is not controlled opposition. Here's why. The Green Party pretty much is the Democratic Party on steroids. The Libertarian Party is not the Republican Party on steroids. In fact, the Libertarian Party is truly independent. Do they believe in some quote-unquote conservative principles? Like free markets? Yeah, absolutely. They believe in the Second Amendment, yeah. Not all Republicans, by the way, these days believe in the Second Amendment. Many believe in many restrictions on that particular amendment, as that party continues to get pulled in all kinds of directions. The Constitution. Nobody is really talking a lot about the Constitution. Free speech, not a lot of people. I mean, if you go down the list of issues, people, the Libertarian Party lines up with me about 70 or 80% of the time. And, when you do the math, folks, to bring Andrew Yang back into this equation, if you do the math, it isn't really that bad to get 70% of what you want. There are things about libertarian economics that certainly need some debating, and you need to get that information out there. Appealing to people on the left, I think, is harder these days than appealing to people on the right or in the center. But guess where the majority of people in this country actually are? They're in the center, okay? So the people in the center are not for a complete government takeover of the healthcare system. They may want some kind of less expensive healthcare system that creates better access. They might want some type of system that allows poor people access to basic care. I know, though, when you do a propaganda campaign and you talk about a certain type of healthcare, whether it's Medicare for all. Sounds like a great idea, right? But we're pumping so much money into our system already, and our outcomes aren't all that good. And yes, people do like Medicare. Once they get to that stage of their life, they like it. They've paid into it. Much like any other program that you pay into, you're supposed to get a benefit from it. I'm not going to go down the rabbit trail on every issue when it comes to the Libertarian Party. But I care about freedom more than I care about anything else. I do. What's more important than freedom? What's more important than being out from under the boot of oppressive government? That is telling you, and this is what it boils down to. In recent weeks, part of my switch, part of the light going on in my brain is because we've seen incredible government overreach at the state level. I understand the 10th Amendment is fantastic, but the 10th Amendment does not nullify the rest of the Constitution. The Bill of Rights does not nullify the rest of it. Okay, one does not trump the others. No pun intended. Freedom means freedom. Freedom of movement, freedom not to wear a mask, for instance, and you can go on and on. You can go on and on. But let's get back to Joe. All right, Joe is trending here, and it's a cool thing that she's trending, but is it trendy that she's trending, or is this something that people are really going to kind of get on board with? I heard a commentator the other day basically say, well, you know, the Libertarians probably aren't going to win. And I got to tell you, folks, we need to stop talking like that. We need to be like poker players. We need to play it like we're going to win. You at least need to do that. Do I think it's likely that Joe Jorgensen is going to win? I don't know. Probably, you know, I guess you have to put your odds. If you're betting, it's probably like 30 to 1, 40 to 1 shot. But the problem, maybe even higher, I know. The problem, though, with that type of thinking that I just outlined is that it's self-defeating. We heard this during the whole Tulsi Gabbard run-up to the primary. Well, she can't win. You know, and all these different things. I'd vote for her, but she has no chance to win. Okay, well, you're not voting for her, so she has no chance to win. By the way, if you're an independent, if you're a Republican, if you're an old-school Democrat, you really should take a hard look at Joe Jorgensen. Trump is up to his eyeballs, and I think even if you like Trump right now, and you're probably going to vote for Trump, I think he's damaged goods. I think it would be nice to kind of pivot away from Trump and to look at someone who's more forward-thinking, who could maybe bring the country together. And, you know, to keep people from freaking out, you bring someone in who's a complete outsider to this and who will do the actual will of the American people and not large corporations and banking institutions. See, this is another reason. You've got to look at who's controlling our government right now. It's mostly large corporations. And even though libertarians are for free market economics, they are not for crony capitalism. They are not for the government being in bed with Amazon or big tech or Hollywood or whoever it is, because that's not true democracy. And we haven't seen that in quite some time, and it's getting worse. It's getting more diluted as time goes on. So what you need is someone to come in and say, I'm an equal opportunity offender. I'm going to offend people on the left. I'm going to offend people on the right. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the Constitution. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the Bill of Rights. I'm going to do it the way it's supposed to be done, and it gets further and further away no matter who you elect as the president. You get somebody who's an authoritarian, either an authoritarian righty or an authoritarian lefty. And by the way, again, if you're going to give me sodium pentothal, the left scares me more than the right. Because the left is in the streets, and the left is willing to burn everything down. The right is scared to death, and we need somebody to come in there with a cool head and say, you know what? We need law and order, but we also need justice. We need both, and you can do both. And this way, you don't offend everybody. Hopefully, you bring people together because you're willing to work with all sides and be a peacemaker and a mediator. And speaking of peace, wouldn't it be nice to have a candidate running for president who wants to bring the troops home. Now, I know that's a tall order, and I know it's harder to do than it looks. You could just make an order. Trump is writing executive orders all day long, right? Imagine saying, this war, I believe this war is unconstitutional. We didn't get authorization here to go to war in this country. We're running off another authorization we got through Congress. So if we want to do this again, we're going to have to get Congress to vote on it. At least that. And then we need a president who is using the bully pulpit to say, enough's enough. And imagine bringing truly bright minds with you into the White House. This is what Trump was supposed to do. And instead we got people like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo. Imagine bringing people in who truly understand the private sector, people who truly understand how business works. Not, you're looking for people to do a favor for, and I'll bring you into my cabinet and so forth. Imagine assembling a cabinet of incredibly bright minds and having those people actually solving problems and working hard each day to make the country a more functional place. That would be amazing. So all of those things, and again, even if you don't agree on every issue, getting things, the big ticket things done, freedom of speech, and yes, if you're a fan of the Second Amendment, as the world grows more hostile, you want a president who supports that. Libertarians pretty much do. I mean, go through the Bill of Rights. Which ones do you like? Which ones do you like? There are quite a few that are pretty good. The Constitution is written is pretty good. It's a pretty good document. Either we're going to keep it or we're going to throw it out. Now, if you elect Joe Biden, see, even if you elect Trump, I think Trump's going to use his authoritarian power to try to go after all of these people that are coming after him, and it becomes this tribal war, unconstitutional, extra-constitutional, and it becomes very banana republic-ish. You need somebody who goes in and says, you know what? We need the Constitution. Yes, we need the rule of law, but we also need fairness and justice for all. Liberty and justice for all. Okay? And, yeah. So, if you're serious about supporting Joe Jorgensen, or if you're really serious about not voting for the two normal candidates, Democrat and Republican, the Libertarians offer you the best hope. If you're truly anti-war, the Libertarians are your best hope. If you're truly free speech, if you're truly against crony capitalism and the crony monetary system that we have, and monetizing debt, if you're against those things because they ruin the dollar, they ruin the buying power that Americans have, they destroy the work ethic in the long run. I know that's tough for some people. Printing money is going to destroy the work ethic. It's already doing that right now. You got to give people opportunities. And yes, you have to do an economy that's vibrant so people can go back to work, which means you need scientists and second opinions on things like wearing masks, and you need to reopen this economy as quickly as possible. Not to make more money for Jeff Bezos, but so people can actually go back to their jobs and earn a living and not have to wait for the government handout. You know how many people are waiting for unemployment checks and stimulus checks and things like that? That's you relying on someone else. We need an economy that puts you first, where you own yourself and you can go out and earn a living and do something that has value, and people will pay you for that, and you will prosper. That's what should happen. That's what needs to happen. You're not going to get that with the two other candidates. Jo Jorgensen seems reasonable. She seems approachable. And why not? Why not? We just put a guy in there who didn't have enough experience to be the president at all, and has shown at times that he is a little absent-minded when it comes to really important issues, and I'm being very diplomatic. But he's running against a guy who has almost, there's nobody home up there. You know what I mean? So Trump found the perfect guy to run against. So you've got dumb and literally dumber, or, the lights aren't even on. That's what it is. And then you've got Jo Jorgensen, who, again, could be running circles around these guys. If the country will take notice, if the media will take notice. She's a candidate not for the rich and powerful, but for everyday people who want to have an opportunity to work and to contribute to society. And again, she's really not going to appeal to people who constantly want to protest and to rail against authority. Not to say that you shouldn't do that at times, but when it becomes a profession that's funded by sources outside the country, other countries, for instance, okay, and you're taking money to destroy the country from within, I don't know how you reach those people. Honestly, those people, they need to be, I don't want to be mean here, but those people need to be marginalized. They need to not have a voice, because their voice is a shrill, screaming cacophony of noise that is not adding to the conversation, but it's making people very upset, very nervous. It's very similar to a kind of terrorism. And if it's allowed to continue, it's going to make our society worse. So yes, we do need law and order within reason. And we need justice for those who, certainly are just trying to exercise, their free speech rights. But free speech is not violence. Violence is not speech. And anybody, including, Chris Cuomo, who thinks, hey, where does it say you have to be peaceful? Well, it kind of says it in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. So that's my video on this topic. Let's go out and try to support Jo Jorgensen so she can get on the debate stage. That would be a big step in the right direction.